Hi everyone, all sandy all the time here in the News 13 weather office. Thanks for clicking onto my weather extra. As we get closer to the storm making landfall, the good news here is we're narrowing down where that landfall is going to be. Right now it looks to be somewhere between southern New Jersey and probably Long Island. Somewhere in there we're expecting a landfall Monday night and into Tuesday. But I urge folks to really not pay too much attention to where that landfall is. The wind field in the storm is just going to be so large. I still expect a sizable storm and a damaging storm even here in northern New England. Let's take a look at the latest information on this storm. As of 5 o'clock, the Hurricane Center has as a hurricane 75-mile-per-hour sustained winds, a minimal hurricane. It's been weakening a little bit throughout the day today and is expected to continue to weaken as we go into the overnight hours tonight. In fact, it may be downgraded to a tropical storm in the coming hours. We're still awaiting the new advisory from the Hurricane Center. But regardless, it's still expected to strengthen again as we go through the weekend. So the storm is still going to be a very strong storm as it approaches New England early next week. Let's take a look at the Hurricane Center's official track here. Of course, this is going to take us right into Monday and Tuesday. I stopped this around Monday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Hurricane Center's official track, projecting it to still be a hurricane. Oops. There we go. We'll loop through it one more time for you. There it is, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, still a hurricane at 2 o'clock on Monday. It then shifts off to the west and makes a landfall somewhere near Delmarva, or possibly southern parts of New Jersey. But many of the forecast models say no. It might be too far south, or that Hurricane Center's track might be too far south. That thicker line you see right there, that is the official Hurricane Center's track. All these different lines, we call them the spaghetti plots. These are all different computer models and their handling of the storm. Notice how many of them have a landfall further off to the north. So there are really two camps on how this is going to play out. There's a camp where the storm is going to make landfall somewhere near Delmarva, the Chesapeake Bay region, or even southern or central New Jersey. And there's another one that says, okay, this one's going to back in from east to west somewhere across Long Island. And there are a few different models that project different tracks. So the exact track is still a little uncertain. There's that southern track I just outlined for you, which would be better news for us here in northern New England. Worse news for folks down into New Jersey and heading back into portions like Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. A northern track here, this one would be absolutely devastating. This would be a really bad track for portions of southern New England, heading back into Rhode Island, Connecticut, Long Island Sound, and even New York City. You get that tidal surge that would just back in on New York City right through Long Island Sound. So that would not be a good track. So they're two distinct tracks, but the good news, forecast models are converging on a narrower track here. But again, I'd urge folks to really not pay too much attention on where the exact track is. Still a big storm is expected here in northern New England. These are the forecast model spreads from the 18Z run to the afternoon run today. Notice how many of the hurricane models have the landfall somewhere between central New Jersey and down through portions of Delmarva, the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay. There still are a few that make a landfall up into southern New England, but they are few and far between. I want to show you some of the forecast models. First, we're going to start off with that southern track I just outlined for you. This is a powerful storm. This is the European model, which shifted north today. That was good news because we were expecting one of these to give over the next couple of days here, or at least over the last day or so. Remember yesterday it had or even last night, it had a landfall somewhere near the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay. Now it's over central parts of New Jersey. Regardless, it's a very strong storm with a pressure of about 950 millibars, and that would be comparable to a Category 2 or Category 3 hurricane. So we'll have to see if that verifies. This another one of those southern tracks. They're sort of in between. This is the no gaps model, valid Tuesday morning. This is about 8 o'clock Tuesday morning, somewhere near Philadelphia. This one, another one of those southern tracks, are sort of in between. This is the Japanese model, which is very similar to the no gaps here. That's Tuesday morning, somewhere near western central New Jersey, heading back into Philadelphia at that point. All right, now to some of the northern tracks. This is the NAM model, and I ran the 18Z run of the NAM, where National Weather Service is actually sending more weather balloons up due to the extreme nature of the storm. So we can actually take a look at these mid-level runs, the 18Z and the 6Z runs. I typically don't look at them anyway because they're usually out to lunch. But now with more weather balloon data, more upper air data, we can actually look at these. Here we are at 6Z on Tuesday, so that would be 2 a.m. Tuesday morning. Notice this is quite a bit further north. There's the center of circulation, about a 950-something low. Which is still a strong storm, Category 2 or Category 3. As far as the pressure goes, that would be comparable to a Category 2 or Category 3, moving basically from west to east, so moving in a fashion something like this, from east to west, I'm sorry, moving from east to west, backing in on Long Island. You get the surge coming up through Long Island Sound in a situation like that. A very similar setup here for the GFS, which actually shifted a little bit south with the 18Z run. This valid 2 a.m. on Tuesday. A very powerful storm, around 950 millibars still. That's a very powerful storm. With this setup here in northern New England, we would get, probably wind gusts of somewhere between 50 and maybe 70 miles per hour. So widespread power outages would be a real possibility with that. With a more southern track that we just outlined for you, it would probably be wind gusts of somewhere between 30 and maybe 55 miles per hour. Regardless, I expect power outages here in northern New England either way. But the good news for us here in Maine and New Hampshire, the absolute worst of the storm should be to our south. I just showed you that GFS model, which had a track somewhere near Long Island. It's worth mentioning that the GFS ensembles, these are different members of the GFS model, are a lot further south than the actual operational run. Notice a lot of these basically run from it looks like New Jersey right down through the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay. So that is worth mentioning as well. Here's the Canadian run for what it's worth here. This is the Canadian model, has a storm somewhere near New York City. And this valid 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning. So the worst of the storm here in northern New England will probably be Monday night and into Tuesday. We'll get a period here of very strong winds. And again, there is the potential for 40 to as high as 70 mile per hour winds, all depending on the track. And that's not sustained. That's wind gusts of 40 to 70 miles per hour. All right, now as far as the intensity goes, these are all different computer models and their projected intensity of the storm. Notice how it's still very strong. You really can't see it on this map here, but that line I'm drawing right there with the cursor, that's Category 1 strength right there. This little faded line you see there, that's tropical storm strength. So I take it about 84 hours out, the expected landfall somewhere in here Monday night and Tuesday. Notice how most of the intensity has it between tropical storm force, and here's your Category 1, between tropical storm force and Category 1 force. Hurricanes. But remember, the central pressure in a lot of these storms is comparable to a Category 2 or even Category 3 storm. So a lot of questions here. Is it purely tropical? Is it going to become extratropical? Is the wind field going to expand? Regardless, that wind field is going to be quite large by the time it gets here on Monday night and Tuesday. Now, I just outlined a few of the different scenarios for you here. This is I want to show you some of the forecast headlines or storm headlines going forward. Coastal flooding, probably my main concern. That and power outages. Coastal flooding is going to be pretty extreme, especially if we have that northern track. Tides are running already astronomically high. That Monday afternoon, late Monday night, and again Tuesday afternoon, we're going to watch those tides pretty closely, particularly on Tuesday. Gusts 40 to 70 miles per hour. Again, if we take that southern track, it's probably more like 35 to 50 mile per hour gusts, not sustained winds. If it takes that northern track, it's probably more like 50 to possibly 70, or maybe 75 miles per hour. It all depends on what mixes down to the surface here. We're going to have a screaming wind coming in off the ocean, and a prolonged period of wind as well. Strongest wind should be Monday night to Tuesday, and the storm should stick around right through Wednesday and possibly Thursday. The wind will die off a little bit. It's going to be breezy with some on and off periods of rain during that period as well. One thing we haven't talked much about, river flooding. There's the potential for 3 to as much as 7 inches of rain with the storm. Therefore, river flooding is a real concern as well. I want to focus in on some of that coastal flooding again. We talked not only about the surge here, but also the wave heights will be very impressive. This run off the Wave Watch 3 model. This is about midnight on Tuesday, so Monday night into Tuesday. The reason I stop it here, we have a high tide during this period. So here at the coastline, waves, at least according to the model, probably around 8 to as much as 12 feet. That's not our highest waves. Notice the biggest waves out in the ocean, 35 feet on the north and east quadrant of the storm. Let's fast forward now through Tuesday. This is about lunchtime on Tuesday. I think this will probably be our worst high tide based on this model because we have the surge going. We also have very active wave action as well. Here at the coastline, probably 10 to 20 foot waves. As you head further out in the Gulf of Maine, we're looking at 20 to 30 foot waves. And further out south of Nova Scotia, we're still looking at 30 foot waves way out there. So a real threat still for northern New England. The absolute worst of the storm should still remain to our south. But again, the big concern, power outages and coastal flooding. You want to stay updated in this forecast because any variation in track, of course, is going to significantly change this forecast. So I'll have an update tonight at 11 Let's see. Steve Roldan, our new weekend meteorologist, he will be in on Saturday with an update as well, and I'll probably be in on Sunday, and we'll try to nail down the timing and intensity. That's the way things look tonight. I hope everyone enjoys their weekend. Have a nice night.